Hi, this is Bob Crandall. You're watching LoadFactor.
All right, Roger Williams here. I'm with the great Randy Petersen. And we're in a little bit of an overcast New York City and the area of Flushing, and we've just wrapped up the FFP Spring Event, FT Awards, and the first annual lunch with Randy Petersen. So, Randy, I had no idea that you had culinary skills, but the food was absolutely delicious today.
But the event was probably historic in a couple things. One is we're kind of celebrating 30 years of frequent flyer programs, what we kind of call America's 30-year love affair with miles. But really more importantly is we were able to get together the leaders of the industry. And when I say the leaders of the industry, we're talking about executives of billion-dollar corporations. For instance, we had Jeff Robertson up on the podium today, up on the panel, and he was talking about his P&L of several $billion. Now, a lot of people sitting in the audience, frequent flyers and some partners and others, marketers and stuff, thinking, did he just use the B word? And he did drop the B word, several $1 billion. It's funny because if you look at like Delta Sky Miles, and we had the president of American Advantage,
Sure.
president of United's Mileage Plus program, all three of those programs, if you took them away from the airline, just their own P&L, they would be in the Fortune 1000 as corporations on their own. So it was historic to see competitors like that get together in a panel. The other thing that was kind of unique, other than kind of reflected upon 30 years of frequent flyer miles, is we put them in front of their customers and their marketers. Now, all of these three executives do what any other company does. They survey their own customers, find out what their customers are saying about them. You know, that's all well and good, mind you, but when you put them in an environment where other customers are listening and hearing, and they're talking back and forth about that conversation, everything changes right there, because Jeff Robertson from Delta wasn't talking just to the Delta customer. He was talking to the Advantage customer, talking to United's customer. When Jeff Folan, the president of United's Mileage Plus program, he was answering questions not just about United, about competition with Delta, because we were talking about expiring miles. And then the other great thing about that, we mixed it up. This wasn't an airline conference. We had Jeff Seidel, the Senior Vice President of Marketing from Hyatt there, talking about how hotels fit into this. And the interesting thing, I don't think people appreciated, is listening from American Express how they paid attention to what the hotel programs were doing, and the airlines, even though they're really just a piece of plastic, a credit card. But you know, the interesting thing, the number one thing I heard, and even me, I've been around a long time, threw me off is how much they would like things to be better, and one thing keeps getting in the way, in technology. They talked about the investment of technology. Delta talked about trying to do one-way awards, and they said, we'd like to do that, we just can't justify the expense of redoing technology when we could spend that money to do something else to make other customers happy.
So when that question was asked about technology, can you do one-way rewards to Jeff, and they all kind of touched on, made the same points about technology, but let's be fair here as reporters. These guys are making billions of dollars, as we said, on their P&L. So they're the only profitable departments in airlines many times. Yeah. So if you're that profitable, wouldn't it be justified to invest in that technology regardless? Because really, what are the loyalty programs there for? And that was the essential question that we're trying to answer for this whole week. You know, is it love or loyalty? So is it an ancillary revenue program, or is it to put, as Jeff said, beds on heads, or heads on beds?
Yeah. Well, the idea of heads and beds is one little thing, but we did make a point in looking kind of like the Aeroplan story of the shareholder in these programs almost is no longer the members. I mean, we as members, I'm a member of a lot of programs, I always think that I'm the shareholder of that program. Sure. Today, I think we've learned from this conference and certainly other things, is that Now, the shareholder is who's the dividends of that program go to. Doesn't need to be spun off on Wall Street. And as we also have learned is that many of these programs, frankly, are keeping the airlines alive until they get a better revenue model. Baggage fees and stuff like that didn't come up overnight. Somebody, and it was frequent flyer program, had to carry them along for a long time until they figured out where to make other money, if you will.
Right.
But to your point, and I think it's probably the key question, and it was on the minds of you, and I think other people, is that, yeah, okay, we know it's expensive for technology, but where in the hell does the money go? Where does it, when I buy at the kiosk double miles because they give me an offer at the kiosk, where does that money really go? Because frankly, most programs haven't changed their award levels. They haven't gotten richer. They haven't given more awards away. The elite level programs don't have really new benefits that cost money. So something's hidden there, and we're not quite sure what it is.
Well, in fact, the money goes to build a very impressive balance sheet that internally the airline, it's is an enterprise within itself. But as an enterprise, all enterprises that are successful should reinvest to make sure that they have all the technology and everything they need to do to fulfill the customer. So it is a bit of a hard question, especially coming from our side. We love when programs make ancillary revenue. In fact, we do conferences just on that to make sure to do it. So, and I've gotten a lot of flack from the press about encouraging that and not looking to the customers, but I think I've learned a little bit about from seeing all these elite flyers today who are all very eloquent and very fair. And just how intently your panel was listening. I mean, they listened to everything they had to say, and they take this very seriously because they're here. And they were here talking to many people. They weren't just running out the door. So it is important. So. In the long term, Randy, do you see more of these programs? There are 214 something programs out there. Do you see more going towards just trying to make this ancillary revenue, or do you see maybe down the road things will switch up a little bit? Will it be in vogue again to be about the loyalty part?
Yeah, I don't see them switching up again. I think you and your organization was kind of at the leading edge to bring attention to ancillary revenue as the topic for the industry. It's not about airfare anymore. It's really not about frequent flyer miles. I mean, it touched on it, and yeah, we celebrate 30 years, mind you, but it's always around the revenue and where that goes. And the interesting thing, though, is to Delta's thing, and they talked about, you remember the question about you used to charge to redeposit expiring miles and you went to non-expiring miles, and he said, we decided that, the $5 million, $10 million in revenue was too expensive for the negative stuff, feedback we got from our customers. That was frankly the most refreshing comment I've ever heard, that yes, negative feedback has a price, and Delta was willing to pay for it. Now, the question is, it always comes up in award redemption though. Okay, isn't there negative connotations about award redemption? Where are you spending money back into that? It could be technology, don't really know. But I think your conferences, and in particular this one, because each of those executives has conversations like this. But you know what? They're conversations one-to-one or with a small group of their own customers without the world watching. You were able to get this together and actually allow the world to watch. You've got other media here and covering. So the comments they made today, they probably have made before, but behind closed doors. Now we're going to say, hey, just like you said, where does the money go that can't afford the technology to make things better? Now we all know. Before, even I didn't know that answer.
Well, that's really interesting. And, when you start aligning things the way we've aligned it, we didn't really know what to expect. And some interesting things are developing from that. And I think it's going to continue to reverberate in mega event later this year and some other things we're going to do. And all these guys are excited. They want to come back. And, the seniority level is just going up and up in these events. So, I must say that we've learned a lot from the B2B side with your wisdom. And the flyer talkers have taught us a whole lot. And on behalf of all of us swashbuckling pirates in the conference business, I thank you.
Now, it works out really good because what we've learned today, and this is important, it doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C or C2C, it doesn't really matter. But when you have a conference like this, what emerges but the wisdom of the crowd? and your crowd is really smart. You've heard that in the questions from frequent flyers, in the questions from the marketers, in the questions from partners, in the questions and comments from the industry itself. There is wisdom in the crowd, and this crowd was probably the smartest crowd I've seen out there. So I think that's the key to what I took away from this today. Wisdom of the crowd, and when you mix it up, as you were talking about, when you take away just B2B stuff and add in all the other things that really make the B work to begin with, then you've got a powerful conversation, and we heard it today.
And you heard it here first. There's wisdom where you least expect it in the crowd at an FFP conference, and there's money to be had in loyalty.
Yep.
So with that, I'm Roger Williams, and this is
Randy Petersen.
signing off. Next time.